Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Business Spotlight, the podcast where we shine a light on the incredible entrepreneurs and business leaders in our community. I'm your host, Craig Whipperman with Music City Action Coach. And today we're excited to introduce to you someone who's blazing a trail in both residential and commercial construction here in Nashville. Our guest today is David Craker, owner of Premier Design Build since 2016 and owner of Culver's of Franklin before then. We'll dive into David's background, learn about the challenges he's faced and the successes he's celebrated. Whether you're a fellow entrepreneur, an aspiring business owner, or someone who simply loves to support local businesses, this conversation is sure to inspire and inform. So without further ado, let's welcome David to the podcast. David, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Craig. Thank you for having me, and look forward to talking and sharing a little bit about my life story.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so with that, share with us, what you were doing before Culver's, and then how did you make the jump to Culver's, and then how from there was Premier Design Build born?
Yeah, absolutely. I started my construction career in 1987. I was getting engaged to my wife and was looking for a real job after attending college for about 2.5 years. And I applied at a construction company. Neil, my boss, at the time, when he interviewed me, asked where I grew up. I told him in a little town in Wisconsin in Reedsburg. And he's like, "No, did you grow up in the city or in the country?" And I told him that I grew up on a farm, and that's all he cared about is the fact that I was a farm kid, and I was 6'1", 200 pounds, and big enough to do construction. So started out as a laborer in construction and worked my way up to become a supervisor. And then ultimately, 5 years after starting, I replaced Neil. He sold out of the partnership, and I got a chance to buy in and run the field and own 25% of the company that I originally started with. Did that for 3 years. And then in 1994, started my own construction company in Wisconsin, around the Madison, Wisconsin area, and kind of grew that company to be as big as the original company I had started with, maybe a little bit bigger, but really didn't know how to grow the business bigger. And I really became extremely interested in the design build market in the commercial business industry. It was much more of a relationship based building method, and those were the projects I liked a lot more. Had great relationships with a lot of clients that are still friends today, and you could add a lot more value in the construction process when you're involved in the design. And I kind of did that about the last 4 years. I had my own construction company and served as the Wisconsin chair of Associated Builders and Contractors in 2004. So I was the chairman of the board. One of the board members was the president of Keller, which is a large employee-owned design build commercial construction company in Wisconsin. And ultimately, I decided in 2005 to join Keller and sell my business to them, and opened a Madison office for them. They were regionalizing around Wisconsin, and it was kind of my next step in my career and see how a big company uh, operated, and it was a great experience. And worked for Keller for 5 years. My brother Doug, who worked with me uh, for probably 20 years, still works for Keller today. And Keller's a 100% employee-owned company, which was a neat experience to see how the culture and that atmosphere was created with an employee-owned company, and uh, had good success with Keller in opening up the Madison market. But after 5 years, I really had the kind of desire to get back into business ownership. And every winter, my wife would say, "Why do we live in Wisconsin?" And uh, I had traveled enough and talked to enough people around the country that I kind of started exploring business opportunities around the country, and what I could do in a bad economy in 2009, going into 2010. And where I grew up, and my wife grew up in Reedsburg and Baraboo, Wisconsin, is where Culver's started. And had classmates that owned Culver's. I had friends that owned Culver's, and kind of took that as an opportunity to take on a new challenge in my career, and then be able to pick where we wanted to live the rest of our life. And that's where we picked Franklin, Tennessee, and opened Culver's of Franklin as the owner operator, uh, and started running a restaurant. Uh, and everybody should run a restaurant because it's a kind of a unique experience. Your employees don't stay very long. A lot of them are teenage kids. Uh, they got football, they got basketball, they got baseball, they've got other things in life. And the average high school student will work 6 to 9 months, and then graduate high school, go on to college. You're just constantly training and changing in running a restaurant, and it's kind of like managing chaos. And it was a great experience. Had a couple partners. We ended up opening a second location up in Hendersonville, uh, and they wanted to open a third location. And I had worked almost every day for 5 years running a restaurant. Uh, uh, Weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are always your busiest times, and that's when uh, you have people that don't show up for work. Uh, you have unexpected rushes. Uh, People aren't prepping food correctly, and different things, and it's where you needed more management time. And so I did that for 6 years, and I kind of took the opportunity to get out of Culver's, and in 2016 started Premier Design Build, and moved back into the construction industry, which I've always loved. It's just a neat career opportunity where you can take somebody's idea, create drawings, go through the approval process, and then build them what they want to occupy. And then every time you drive by that building for the rest of your life, you can say, "Hey, I did that," and be proud of it. So it's a pretty neat construction. Construction is a pretty neat career opportunity. So yeah,
Yeah, that's quite a story, man. I That's really funny because you started in '87 and were as a laborer, man. That's about the time I worked in construction, but it wasn't full time. You know, I did it during the summers, and
yeah,
I was a laborer back in those days. And
yeah.
that's not, it's not easy work. You
No, but it's not easy. But if you grow up as a farm kid, farm
know,
chores are not easy. But I've always enjoyed the process, and some of the jobs you love that you're doing, some of the jobs that you have to do are a little less enjoyable. But it's always uh, the end result is really what counts. And if you do it well, you can always be proud of it.
yeah, no
So
question. I didn't realize, Dave, when you and I spoke earlier, or maybe I didn't make a note of it. I did not realize that you made a transition into restaurant ownership. I
yeah,
find that very intriguing. You know, I've always told folks and kids, and my kids too, I'm like, you should wait tables in a restaurant because number one, you got to manage a lot of stuff, really.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
you got to smile and genuinely, develop a relationship in a short period of time to earn your tip. And you got to, be able to anticipate what tables need when. And, anytime you go into a restaurant, I do, it's like, okay, either this service is exceptional or it's not too bad or it's average. I mean, I don't know why. It's just, I'm always running that through my mind. And folks who wait on tables and do a really good job stand out. And owning a restaurant as well, like you say, with the turnover. And I've talked to so many restaurant owners who, talk about the same thing, and that's the biggest challenge. You have to have like an ongoing system for recruiting and engaging and keeping a flow of, possible candidates, potential candidates.
Yeah.
It's almost like a necessity if you want
Yeah.
to operate a successful restaurant. So,
Yeah.
and then taking that, so that's really cool, taking what it is you did there and then coming back into the construction piece. And, when you were sharing that about the opportunity to, develop a relationship, um, more than just a transactional type of thing. And, when you do that as a contractor, you don't have as much of an opportunity, but man, if you're doing it as when I say contractor, only the building piece of it,
Yeah.
but the design build, it is, you get to learn. I would imagine you do get to learn a lot more about the person and, or the business and what it is they envision. And you're right there by
Yeah.
their side and they are relying on you. And, um, I'm sure it is very, very rewarding.
Yeah. It's our number one core value is build every project like it's your own.
Mhm.
And that has so many meanings to it where uh, uh, a lot of our customers are good business people and they might know a lot about construction, but especially somebody like myself that has been doing this now in my 38th year, you just experience so much stuff that if you're making decisions like you're building it for yourself, then and advising your customers on that, I think that just stands out in the market. Where most contractors are just out there building what's drawn, and they really don't think about how the different pieces go together. What's the best value for the customer? A lot of architects really are trying to draw a masterpiece, but it might not fit the budget, and or might really restrict the amount of square footage that you can get in your project. So
Mhm.
it's definitely an art. Uh, Construction is much more of an art than I would have thought when I was a young man, pouring concrete and setting steel and framing carpentry walls and stuff like that. But the overall project is it's a pretty neat process to go through.
Yeah, it's kind of like the combination of well, of course, if you're an architect, you're pretty much, you're somewhat of having inclination towards art, but it's got to be buildable and, within a, a reasonable amount of money. And if you're on the hook for designing it and building it, it's just a different thing, right? Because to your point,
Yeah,
contractors that in and of themselves are not necessarily thinking beyond what it is the drawings are right in front of them, for the most part.
absolutely.
But anyway, so design build, is that is it pretty common here in Nashville, in Middle Tennessee? Do you know of a lot of other companies that are doing design build, or you guys kind of like, you know, uh, doing this on your own in the space?
Yeah, there's a few other GCs that do it. Most of them do it in what I would say a partnership relationship with an architect, where the owner is still signing a contract with the architect, they're signing a contract with the engineer, and they're signing a contract with a contractor, and then those people kind of mesh together to work together, but ultimately nobody's responsible for that project. And I know there's other GCs that do it, but it's not a prominent way to build in the Nashville market. And when we work with an owner, if you're going to build a building, you sign a agreement with us to design and build your project, and then we take care of everything from there. And we're an open book in that process. Hey, this is what the architecture is going to cost. This is what the site engineering is going to cost. This is the the review process. This is what the construction part of the project is going to cost, and we can get into as much detail as an owner wants to get in that process. Uh, it, it's just a great way to work with the same people that are designing your building, that are building your building, and it's just a much better control point uh, in making you hit the bullseye a lot better during that design and construction process.
Mhm. Yeah. So you do both commercial and residential. What would you say the mix is?
Yeah, when we started, it was probably more residential than commercial. Over my career, I have always been a commercial contractor. My residential has been more for friends. When you're starting up a new construction company in a new market, uh, you're kind of doing work that you can get, and a lot of that was from friends, people that I knew, and some of that was residential projects. I'd say here by year 8, we still do a little bit of residential, but we're pretty selective on that. It's not our wheelhouse,
Mhm.
uh, but we're really focused on commercial projects from about a half million to 10 million is our typical size. We can do a $20 million project. We can do a $50,000 project, but we're an unlimited GC, so we actually have a license where we can build any size of project. But with our business model, we're really working with private companies, family-owned companies, not corporations. We're not working for somebody that's going to build a high rise. Uh, we're not going to work for somebody that builds the same hotel, same restaurant. That's a different model of construction, and it's just not going to be uh, fit into our wheelhouse or their wheelhouse on those kind of things. Churches have been a really strong market that we've uh, done several projects that are churches. We're just getting done with a church in Spring Hill here. Excuse me, in Spring Hill. It's about a $5 million church, new construction, ground up, and we got that project done for $300 a square foot, which I think is pretty hard to do. And but that we did a lot of things with the owner, with the designers, to kind of meet that budget. And uh, they wanted a certain size of building, and we ended up doing a pre-engineered metal building package and kind of put 5 different buildings together to make a nice design for the church, and um, turned out well. So
Nice. How many square feet would you estimate?
the church is about 20,000 square feet.
Yeah. So is that about an average size construction job for you? 20,000?
Yeah, I mean, it can vary. We've
Yeah.
done another aspect of getting started in a new market. I also do development for flex business condos. And
Hmm.
in Spring Hill here, just off of Saturn Parkway, we built 27 buildings that are flex business condos. And of those 27 buildings, I sold 25 of them to other owners. I kind of do the ground development, get the parking lot in and the sewer and the water and the grading in. And then when I had a building pad ready, then I would sell that building and then build that unit for that owner. And in Spring Hill here, we have 2 building sizes, a 50 by 50 or a 50 by 100. And the units are 1,250 square feet and 2,500 square feet. And so it's a smaller individual building. A lot of the owners that bought the buildings operate their business out of half of it, and then they rent the other half. And it for people that are renting, it's just kind of a price point. They can buy a building for 600,000 or so. They can rent half of it out for a couple thousand a month, and their uh, their half of the rent is little less than that, and then they're building equity in the property. And it's a model I had seen actually in Wisconsin, and a guy was starting that in 2005, six. When I heard about it in 2006, I thought it was a good idea, and he uh, continued to build that. And when I was starting Premier Design Build in 2016, kind of looked that company up, and he had built almost 200 buildings in a 10-year period up in Wisconsin. And I knew the business model was good, and it would be a good opportunity to build that same kind of model down here. And it's worked out great.
Wow. So Flex Business Condos, that's the name of the business that you're talking about, or
No, it's the use of the space, and
oh,
it's
it's a
kind
okay.
of
Okay, gotcha.
uh, it's a variety of businesses. We have a guy that makes custom jewelry, like high-end rings for your fiance
Mhm.
or your anniversary or for special occasions. But he will actually melt the gold, make the ring, and pick out the diamond, shape the diamond, and uh, do that out of one of the units. We have a company that supplies shirts and uh, uh, clothing stuff for performers that when they go on the line and order a hat or a t-shirt or something from a band or musician, he fulfills that order out of one of the spaces. We have a guy that used to do uh, videos on how to make a $10,000 rocking chair out of walnut. Couple roofing companies, spraying company, just real huge variety of different kinds of businesses in the park. And so it's Flex is gives it a lot of range. A typical unit's got an office, a bathroom, and then just kind of open warehouse slash storage space.
Wow. So David, you own that business that builds and then leases out to, oh, well, not builds and then sells to a primary business owner. Is that right? If I'm getting the model right?
Correct.
And
Yeah.
then he
Yeah.
turns around and leases what space he's not using out to other smaller
Yeah.
businesses, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is all, and so these condos are all kind of in this one area down in Spring Hill. Is that right?
They are. It's on a total of 6.5 acres.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Uh, 20 uh 27 buildings on 6.5 acres.
Wow.
And it's kind of shared garbage for the development. Uh, we have an HOA that manages landscaping and lawn mowing, and uh, ultimately will keep the building exteriors uh, painted and replace the roofs in another 20 years when they need to get replaced. Uh, when you buy one of the units, it's pretty hands-off management. So
Mhm.
it's pretty uh, unique kind of market. There's other developers that are doing it, but most of
Mhm.
the other developers, they're just developing it and keeping it for themselves and building an asset. Um, because I'm a construction person. I haven't kind of built the model to keep it. I have built the model to uh, build it and sell it, and I actually have just in December bought some land in Columbia, 5 acres to do the same thing in Columbia, and
Interesting.
we plan on going to Murfreesboro later this year and doing a development over there too.
Nice. So, how many, so 27 buildings on 6.5 acres. How many
Yep.
buildings can the 6.5 acres contain? Are you built out completely or is there more space
We
there?
are built out. No, we're completely built out.
Wow. And so all units have been purchased and then each one is in various stages, I'm sure, of availability to sublet, I guess.
They're all leased out.
Every bit
And
of it.
actually,
Wow.
yeah, and every building I had a contract on uh, to purchase it with a deposit before I started building.
Oh my gosh,
So
that's awesome. So you got to build it
yeah,
all at once then, right? And then,
pretty much. We're right after another. We
yeah,
built the second phase, the last 15 buildings in about, I don't know, 2.5 years, including the site work time.
yeah.
So
And so you've got one going up in Murfreesboro and another in Columbia, then I guess you say.
yeah, I've closed on the land in Columbia already. I have a contract on land in Murfreesboro that we're going through the approval process
Hmm. That's
for the
awesome,
site
man.
design and all that kind of stuff. So it's not a fast process. That process used to take 3 to 6 months. Now I'm telling people plan on 9 months to a year.
Mhm.
There's just been so much growth in Middle Tennessee that a lot of the planning departments are overworked and understaffed, and it just takes them longer to get through the process. So
Yeah, yeah. Not to mention, um, so you develop the land as well as construct the condos or the buildings, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. I started a separate development company for the development end of things, and then the two buildings that I still own are part of that development company. So
Hmm. So if someone were interested, would they just how do folks hear about that opportunity? Are you marketing that to in the area, or is it word of mouth, or how do people
yeah,
learn about the opportunities?
yeah, most of it's just been my network of people.
Uh,
I really haven't gone out and publicized that, but I've been working for about the last 6 months with my CEO, a friend of mine that retired as the CEO, Matt, who is somebody that I do a lot of hunting and fishing trips with, and another friend of mine, uh, kind of coming up with a development model because uh, there's just a lot of need for these smaller units, a lot of home-based businesses that are working out of a garage or basement, or they're renting space somewhere, and they could come up with the $70,000 they need for a down payment for a building. The banks like to finance those owner-occupied units, and it's just kind of a win-win. And if their business grows and they need the whole building, they don't have to rent it out. And eventually, if their business grows so much where they need twice the square footage, they can sell the asset they have and then be able to step into kind of their own property. And I just think it's a one wonderful entry level step into the commercial real estate market.
yeah, that is. I couldn't agree with you more. I was at a ribbon cutting a week or two ago. This lady had the same concept, only it was she herself would lease out a whole floor in a current building. You know, like this one that's 4 or 5 stories, and she had maybe half the floor on one, and I don't know if she had the whole floor on the next. I think she did, but she sublets that out to individuals, and it's the focus is in the like the health market. You know, people who massage therapists,
Yeah.
people who specialize in certain things, acupuncture. You know, even some chiropractors I think have leased out of her space. So she's got like
Yeah.
18 spaces and 16 are full. So it's the same concept. But instead of her building it, you know, she leases out the whole floor and sublets it out. But there
Yeah.
are a ton of smaller businesses who could benefit from that type of service. So really cool. So when you is it the same thing when you market your commercial construction services? Is it just primarily your network? You don't really promote it, or how do you get leads to for?
Yeah. As most small businesses, like the owner is the uh, lead generator. We've actually been working, Nathaniel, my CEO, and I have been working to develop the process for lead generation, like what works in creating leads. Like for us in commercial construction, business bankers are great. Uh, uh, Realtors that are commercial are great. Insurance companies that have a lot of commercial clients are great. Business lawyers, like who in your network do you have that and you just stay in contact with them and develop a relationship with them. And one of the things I've learned over my career in construction, it's typically everybody's biggest purchase. Uh, you know, you know, whether you're building your house or you're building a new commercial building or adding on or remodeling, you're spending typically some pretty significant money. And if people don't know you or have some kind of relationship with you, then you're just a number. And it's a very hard process to kind of get through. But sometimes you don't know those clients, and then you got to prove yourself. And
Mhm.
uh, uh, it it's I kind of enjoy that process of showing how we work, showing how we come up with the design. We're very interactive with the owners. We keep them informed of what's going on. We meet regularly. It's just process that you get to the point where by the time you're done building with somebody, them pretty good. So,
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, share with me, Dave, some of the biggest learnings you've had throughout your career. I mean, you've transitioned from, one business to another, but stayed true to construction. Uh, what's your biggest learning?
um, this has probably changed in the last few years, but I'm probably the biggest bottleneck to my company's growth,
Hmm.
and kind of getting to understand that uh, uh, is really uh, something that I've kind of embraced in the last few years. And I think it's one of the things that a lot of small business owners never really understand. And uh, I joined an organization called C12 about 4 years ago, which has been great. You meet once a month with other business owners or CEOs that run businesses, and you kind of get to do life with them, and kind of understanding the CEO role and the COO role. Having somebody that works for me, Nathaniel, that has been with me for almost 2 years, is very much a great operations guy. I'm like the typical entrepreneur. I have to come up with really good ideas, some of the time. Uh, Bad ideas a lot of times. You're always trying to change things, and having the mix and match of that, and really understanding your role as the visionary for the company, and then somebody that's your right hand person that is executing that vision, uh, is really been an aha moment for me in growing Premier Design Build, and being able to have the capacity to do that, because
Hmm.
there's only so many hours in a day. And uh, your capacity as a leader, if you're making all the decisions, you're only going to be able to grow so far. If you come up with the vision and here's the process, and this is the expectation, and then you allow your people to step into those roles, and you hire for those roles with the expected outcome. And some people will do it well, and some people won't. And really, uh, if you're making all the decisions, which most small business owners are, then it's hard to grow.
Hmm. No question. I couldn't agree with you more, Dave. Once you get to a point, um, like graduate from being the technician, the one with all the expertise, and evolve into a business owner, which has, just like you described, the ability to, pick the right people to be at your side, but also describe and document what what the expectations are of certain roles, and be a leader in that way. So couldn't agree with you more. What are your aspirations for um, Premier Design Build? Where do you see things headed? What are your goals for like the next 5 years?
Yeah, I kind of went away a couple of years ago to kind of wrestle on a long weekend by myself in Smoky Mountains with that, and I really came away with I had a great experience at Keller, and I want to become an employee-owned company. I want to grow to $100 million a year, uh, and be the design build uh, commercial general contractor here in Middle Tennessee. And so we're in that process.
So you guys have a plan all laid out to achieve that.
We do. We run on EOS,
Mhm.
entrepreneurial operating system. We have yearly goals. We have quarterly goals. We assign those to people. We communicate that to the team. We have quarterly meetings. Uh, uh, we have weekly and bi-weekly meetings, depending on what team you're on. Yeah, we have a written down plan and we communicate that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, $100 million a year, that what does that do to your business? Is that like does that double what you're doing now, or three times, or
Yeah, our budget this year is well, I think about 18 million.
okay.
So we've got a lot of growth
Yep.
to get to that 100 million. Uh, but I think we have a good plan to get there. And
Yeah.
the flex business condos are kind of helps feed that. So our plan is to, in the next 5 years, by 5 years from now, we would like to be building on 4 different sites, doing flex business condos.
Mhm.
Uh, and that'll probably be 20 to 25 million of that 100 million a year. And I just don't see that flex business condo um, need going away for a long time, especially if people can purchase it. Like there can be a lot of people that do the development and people are renting out. But if you could rent or own it for the same price or a little bit cheaper, I think most people are um, uh, comfortable in owning it because they've seen the value of their house that they bought 10 years ago and what it's worth today. It's the same thing with
Mhm.
commercial construction. And it's such a low entry point into the market. It's hard to compete with. So
Mhm. And so, if I could ask you, what is so an individual building you would sell to one entity or one company or one owner, I would imagine, and then allow him to sublet it out. What's the square footage that you would sell? What's the average square footage? What's the range of square footage in a building, a condo like you described, that you would sell
yeah,
to an owner?
the units are 25 by 50, and there's typically 2 units per building. So the kind of the small typical building is 50 by 50. We did a few 50 by 100s for people to kind of that need a little bit more space. They can have 2,500 square feet or a whole 5,000 square foot building. In my business, where I'm talking to you from today, is one of those 2,500 square foot units. So,
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's a
yep,
nice way for a business owner to get into commercial real estate himself, right?
yep, absolutely,
Yeah,
and start building an asset from the business standpoint.
right, right. Dave, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you, man, and learning about your business and your vision and hearing your story. Congratulations on where you're at. Um,
Yeah,
it's
well,
been,
thank you.
yeah, it's been a fantastic discussion. I learned quite a bit. Hopefully, all our listeners and watchers have done the same. So, I really appreciate you, and man, we'll stay in touch. Okay.
Sounds good, Craig.
All right, take care. See you guys.